USD, you know. If I was USD at the time, there was no KN at the time. KN came KN came later on. And then I recall the very first Sunday. In fact, I think it was a Saturday when we were told that on Sunday there were options for those of us who wanted to go worship. And then they said, okay, you can go here, Pax Romana meets here, and this meets there, da da da. And then they said, okay, for those of you of the charismatic and Pentecostal faith, but you have not any of these other places you want to go to, there is a gathering at Republic Hall Dining Hall. And that gathering every Sunday is called Campus Christian Family. So we should go. So yes, I mean, being a good boy that I am, that I still am, always boss and always will be. Yeah, I know Mr. Alex Spencer doesn't believe I won't mind him cry. Okay, so I dressed up and went to the Republic Hall Dining Hall. And I went to join this group called CCF. Amazing experience for the very first time in my life to see people my age and people older than me worshiping God and all that. Then the president of CCF was introduced. One Mr. Ishmael Dodu. So this is 98. Saw this man then. Today sitting in the studios of Z, and I am honored to interview this man on personal growth and development. So for those who don't know, I've done it. Full disclosure. Yeah, full disclosure. So that when you see me say certain things or hear me say certain things, yes, it's because he's been my boss for a long time.
No, thank you very much. And that's nostalgic feeling. Putting my mind back to days in tech, where we were, very much involved with Christian work and also student politics.
Exactly.
Trying to combine both of them. In addition to academics, we thank God that we were able to excel.
Yeah, but you impacted on some of us. You really impacted on some of us.
I'm very glad to hear that. Thank you very much.
You did that. So
give glory to God.
Yeah, I mean, for me, hearing that you were then you had joined the UN and all that, and you were doing great stuff across. In fact, okay, Benjamin Yanni yesterday night sent me a message that I should say hello to you.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Ben. So this is today we're talking personal development and national development. Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold her and make her great and strong. We are all involved in building our motherland. Amazing words. I want to start this discussion from that place. Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold her and make her great and strong. We are all involved. In your experience, over the years, since I met you in 98 in tech, all that you did for those of us who had just come into the university, and how you inspired us to remain Christian and to be strong in our Christian values. Has this song resonated with us as Ghanaian youth? Do you see it as we having imbibed the words of this song into ourselves? Arise, Ghana youth, for your country.
Jerry, thank you very much. As you were recounting the words of this song, I'm having goose pimples all around me. Truthfully, that my heart for this nation is very superior, because I believe that this is a nation that actually contributed a lot to making who I am today. And when I recall back my days, starting from a primary school, a public primary school at St. Mary's Anglican Primary School at Akotolante, within the heart of the Dudio constituency. A place that we often describe as a paradox. Paradox in the sense that we're talking about a place that is at the center of Greater Accra, the capital, and it is high rates of poverty, high rates of unemployment, all the vices, social vices that you may think of. There are quite high concentration of those over there. Is that place that we're supposed to provide the finest proteins that we do have, which is a fish. And that's what exactly
Wow.
many Ghanaians depend on. I mean, our major source of protein is fish. In fact, not many of us can actually afford to buy egg, so fish. And the fishermen there, this their major preoccupation. And so as the fishing industry thrives, so would their socioeconomic livelihood also thrive. But over the years, all these things have gone down. Their schools have become structures have become very dilapidated. I walk around to my primary school, and I went exactly to sit at where I would have sat when I was in seminary primary school. I still remember that very clearly. And to my dismay, in my time, we felt that it was a good infrastructure. Now we have the roofing leaking. You have some of the the windows broken and so on. So I've been thinking, what more could I do in support of this?
Wow. Let me ask you this. Yeah. So you came from that background.
Yes.
To the UN.
To the UN. Yeah.
Senior UN diplomat.
Yes.
Then, could this be that today, I mean, as we sit here today, as 8th of July, can a boy also take the same journey you took? Can a boy sitting in Akotolante today also go through the same experience to get to the UN, or even if there is any higher place than that?
To God, all things are possible.
Okay. And
I think that whatever journey, and my life journey, which I believe we'll talk about some of them, and I share some lessons for national growth. You have to dream that you will get somewhere. Mm-hmm. I've always, as a child, I was growing up, I've always relished the idea of working for an international organization such as the United Nations and be a world humanitarian. That has been my desire. It's been my dream as a child. I didn't then know how I was going to do it. But one thing I knew was important was that I have to take my academics very seriously. So when I was in primary school, I was talking to a group of youth at Bukom yesterday, or actually 2 days ago. I had a meeting with them, and I was trying to share my life experiences to them. Because very often, Jerry, when you see us dressed like this, and he's a senior UN diplomat, and he's gone to Oxford University, he has all these accolades, then you tend to forget that they have come from somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted them to know that I had come from the same background as some of them are struggling to emerge out of. And therefore, the lessons that I've learned from there will be very vital in shaping their livelihoods as they are going forward. So the answer to your question is yes, it's very possible. Mm-hmm. And it's not just possible, but it can manifest.
Okay.
And I'll share some of my optimistic ideas around that. When you grow up in a place like Bukom, where nobody thinks that every good thing can come from them, you are confronted with a number of societal challenges. One is your self-esteem itself, because you walk around and he's a Ghan boy. The Ghan, when they think about Ghan people, Kenke, they think about Banku and fish. They don't think about you as you can even be an engineer. Many people on the street will not imagine Ghan people as even doctors, engineers, and it's great that we have some good names that we have seen, even in modern politics, but most of the time, we are not associated with prosperity. And so your self-esteem, the way society look at you, and then the worst form of it is that you are in steeped urban poverty. Now, urban poverty is quite different from rural poverty in the sense that with urban poverty, you are actually extremely poor because you have no other basis of livelihood. If you are in a rural area where you are considered to be poor, very often at your backyard, you can have some maize, some vegetables and things like that. So though you are poor, your feeding might not be a challenge. But if you are poor, you have no income, nothing.
Even if you are poor
within a place like Bukom, what options do you have?
You can't go farm.
You have no option. You actually have to drink water. So that's why it's extremely important for us to look at this type of poverty and deal with it and help the people out of it. Now, you would imagine that So what I want to say that what would be some of the things that you need to latch on to help people out of such situation. In my days, I was growing up, education was very important. The Anglican school, the Anglican church supported our education and maintained education quality in such a way that if you are serious and you give yourself to learning, you will be able to attain sufficient level of quality as would someone in the private sector, in the private schools. You remember at the time, we have a prolongation way of going to school. For example, we don't do common entrance. You have to go to middle school. So after 6 years primary, you go to middle school 4 years before you go to secondary school. So we have about 4 to 5 years more to go to school before we go to secondary school. Whereas somebody from private schools such as Cambridge and New Order Preparatory School and so on, as soon as they finish class 6, lower 6 or upper 6, they go straight to university. In fact, you can sit your common entrance. In your case, you started at
class 5.
Class 5. Yes. You can sit your common entrance class 5 or class 6. So education is very, very important. And high quality education, one that helps you to be critically thinking, you'll be able to analyze, be analytical, and help you to be able to socialize with your peers to deal with the issue of your self-esteem. I think those was the thing that helped me, and this is why I was able to be jumped from class 4 to class 6.
Okay.
Because of my academic acumen, I was quite gifted, so it helped me in that. And there are quite a number of those who are gifted within Bukom that need to, but they need to be given the opportunity that I was given through dedicated support for me to excel in my education, so I can jump. And from class 6, instead of going to middle school, I had an opportunity to join the Kimbu Experimental Junior Secondary School. And from there, I went to Accra Academy and then, to University of Science and Technology, where I had a first class. I was telling my friends that the young boys and girls I was talking to, the youth, was that because of the nature of our Ghana language, the pronunciations are similar to English language, and therefore you can even learn how to read if you can read the Ghana language.
Oh, okay. And
one thing that helped us is the fact that we had teachers who could speak the language, the Ghana language, and so when they're teaching the mathematics, they will explain it to us in Ghana so that we can really appreciate it. English, science, or environmental studies, all of these things were explained to us in Ghana, so we can ask. Even the song that you sang, we are all involved. Yeah. Some of those songs were all interpreted in Ghana, so that we can be able to appreciate where we are coming from and help. So the quality of education here, and one of the things that we also learn in terms of school that helps as a fundamental basis was patriotism. The contribution of the Ghana state to our republic.
Oh, okay.
They were very good names. Heward Mills, Azozo, Odwe Sykes, Niama Olenu, Atipo, and all those big names, Obechebi Lamtim.
Yeah.
So there were names, Genoan Kra, there were names that we could be associated with. And then my own father, my late father, played the Black Star. He was a founding member of the Black Star, won African Cup twice with the Black Star. And there were
your dad won Africa Cup twice?
Twice with the Black Star, and him, Ado Damete, Tete Akron, and my dad played alongside Stanley Matthews when he visited Ghana, So you have all these names, and then the boxers, Azuma Nelson, Dickie Poison, all this.
Ryan Craft.
Yeah, Ryan Craft. So you have great names that are associated with greatness for the country. So you don't feel disenchanted or, that...
it's possible.
You know it's possible.
People of your kith and kin have done it.
I've done it.
So, okay. So we're looking at personal development as it relates to national development. You want to believe that, or you're saying that the way you develop personally has a link to national development.
Yes.
Meaning that if the nation is not developing, then the chances are that we are not developing the individuals within the nation.
Absolutely. Because think about it. A nation is a nation because of its people. And the glory of a nation resides in the talents, the skills, the acumen of its people. How critical thinking they are, how motivated they are to be able to dream and to bring out patents, ideas, technology, different ways of doing things. So how do you build a nation? You build a nation through fundamentally the human capital, the people. So we talk about Greek, right? The Greeks, how we have the philosophers that would sort of put their philosophical thinking in writing. And the whole nation is enjoying to be able to be reading a wider reading nation, so they can access information through that. So you have the human capital to deal with. Then you look at linked to the human capital are the skills that builds a nation. Who construct our roads? Who controls our buildings, our bridges? Then who grow our food and make sure we can have food to eat? Who manage our economics and so on? Who drives our cars? So it is by having your citizen with the right attitude, with also the right knowledge, and they're very motivated, and then they have the environment that every citizen can grow out their own better part of themselves as a contribution to the nation building. Then you are building a nation. And I think this is where we miss out in Africa overall. And as I've done my travels and worked close to 36 countries in Africa, my work in close to 2 decades with the United Nations, what I see is that there's a discordant or disconnect between our nation building ideology and the citizens themselves.
Okay.
We're actually not doing enough to get the citizens help us to build our nation. We have politicians that could turn up or leaders that would turn up, and then we hail them, give them all the glories, and they themselves may not even have the vision and ability to grow the people to become what they are. There are examples that you can think of that we can learn from. If you look at Singapore, and Singapore is a classic example of a country where they have to develop the nation from scratch, from nothing. All right, but they took visionary leaders who then believe in the people and invested in the people to have the right type of skills and critical thinking to contribute to the building of the nation. It's like building a house, and the family is just building the house. You contribute your manpower to the building of the house. What do? If you're an engineer, you bring your engineering skills, right? If you're an agriculturist in the family, you bring your food skills, right? And if you're a plumber, you bring your plumber skills. So that's the vision.
Interesting.
That I want to see how to build a nation.
During the last quest to become presidential candidate for one of the parties that I wouldn't mention, one of the candidates who was among the forerunners had said that if he were to be chosen and eventually became president, he was going to spend like his first 100 days putting together musicians so that they create songs that will work on the minds of the Ghanaian youth, because he felt that the biggest problem was up here. What is your take on such an initiative?
Such an initiative, I wouldn't say an initiative, and an idea, begs the question whether the youth, as they are in this country, have the right mindset. I really want to say that our youth have the right mindset.
They do.
In fact, when I had my conversation with the youth in Bukom, and these are people that for many years, they are 18, 20 years, they don't speak English, they don't write English, they've not been to school, they're trying to fend for themselves on the streets. But when you have a conversation with them about societal challenges, the ideas that they pontificate really tells you that a lot of us, simply because somebody have not been to school, you condescendingly think that the person doesn't speak English, so it is lack ideas. No. Remember that we are not the creator of ourselves. God created us, and God will never create any human being and create that person devoid of ideas, dreams, vision, talents and skills.
Okay.
And that's one thing that we need to really understand. We say we are a Christian nation. We need to really fundamentally underscore that the glory of our citizens resides in the talent skills that God has given them. So nobody should be discounted in that. So I say that forcefully because I truly believe that our youth are incredibly talented. So it is not to create music to let them have that awareness. The awareness must come from, rather, discussions within communities and homes that gives them the opportunity to express themselves and be part of constructing the ideas, the vision, the policies of this nation, whether in education, whether in engineering, science, or technology, or in food production, or whatever basic needs the country citizens have. You need to involve them in determining that. Over many, many years, I dare say that in 1957, one of the major policy speech that Kwame Nkrumah made of the way he wants to see us build our nation, and we are talking nation building, so I'm linking that very carefully to that, is this. I want to take this country out of ignorance. I want to take citizens out of ignorance. Because it is when you clean us out of ignorance, that's when we see opportunities. Now, how do you clean out of ignorance? Knowledge, sharing, ideas. All right? So we in getting the mindset we're talking about, first, fundamentally, it must be a national policy agenda to create serious platform for the youth to express their ideas and their vision for the future and help us construct the kind of world or Ghana that we want. It must be a national discussion.
The same youth that are on TikTok joking, making fun and all that, those same youth.
Have you listened to some of the TikTok messages? It's incredible. It's incredible. You know, you see what is happening in Kenya today. It's a shame that we haven't seen it in Ghana. I say it's a shame because I think it's a raising of a consciousness that we need to have as a nation. I've always said that Ghana today is at a crossroads in terms of where we want to chart our path. If you look at 1992, everyone who has been part of constructing that Fourth Republic is either dead. We've seen our own Jerry John Rawlings dead, Atta Mills and others. We see Dr. Kwesi Botry, and then we see others, Dubois. All those people have gone. These were people who really had a dream about the kind of Ghana they want us to have through the Fourth Republic. My question is, how did they pass on some of those ideas to us? I don't believe that we have, because when you see the way we play our politics, you see the way we even grew up leaders to lead our politics. Of course, I was a National Union of Ghana students representative in Tech, and I was representing the Nooks Council, so I engaged in student politics with some of the likes that are in cabinet today. Both parties have seen. Now, but we have not changed from this idea of that someone who speaks very eloquently is engaged in student politics. He helps the country. He helps the president to win elections on campuses. That person is fit for purpose to become a cabinet minister because he's a member of parliament. We have to manage that transition into leadership, because running a nation is a very serious business. Public administration is complicated. It's very multidimensional. You are dealing with the social norms. You're dealing with the economic interests and political norms. And then you're also dealing with the human capital. And when you live in a country such as Ghana or in Africa, where we still are growing our human capital to the level of sophistication that can build countries like in developed countries, then running a business, running a country becomes the most complicated thing to do. So the leaders that takes that needs to be properly groomed. And I'm saying that our trajectory up to today to let us as a nation pause and reflect and ask ourselves, where do you want to go? What kind of investment do we put in our people? What do we need to? What do we have to gain when we do that? Should we continue to import 90% of it or 98% of everything we eat, drink, and wear? Or we can manufacture those things here. What happens to all the over 160 factories that was built between 1957 to 1966? the shoe factory, the hair factory, the nail factory, the meat cottages, and
the Georg projects.
The Georg projects. Where are they? Georg today. I mean, we are at the forefront of massive alcohol industry, and Georg is going down. We have Ghana Airways that was connecting the entire West Africa, and then we have to sell it. We have a Black Star Line, a ship. Now we have oil. We don't even have any. We have been selling cocoa for many years. We've been selling gold for many years. We have a lithium. Then we need a private sector with $180 million to extract it, to explore. We cannot even invest in exploration of strategic minerals out of the monies we made from gold. We are doing the same. We are making the same mistakes. We have destroyed our waters. Our health system is not sophisticated anymore. Our educational system is going down. Everything is just... So I think it's really a moment of reflection for the country. In fact, if I have my own way, I dare say that we are at the crossroad where if we were to think about election, we should not even have election. What we need to do is to say pause.
Okay.
As a country.
Is this what we want to continue doing?
Is we want to continue to do, or want to do something different? But anyway, we have to do election. But even in the midst of that, we need to carve out a space for such sober reflection. And I see a future in 2028 in the sense that I believe that this election may mark the end of the era of the 1992s and Fourth Republic politicians, and that new ones are going to come.
Okay.
And so I really pray that as a nation we'll begin to work deliberately to groom these leaders. And this is why I believe that investing in the youth is extremely important. We need to let them feel that this is actually your country, and you can make or break it. So you have to engage. Whether you are English literate or you are not, your skills, talents, energy, resource is extremely important in building this nation. And we must make this, what I'm saying must be the messages that should come from our elders, our church leaders, pastors and family elders and all, and even whoever emerges to become president. He should be standing on the Black Star Square to say, look, we're dedicating the country back to the hands of the youth, and we're going to work with you to build this nation to the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We want to be able to construct a nation that is so sophisticated and powerful that cannot be ignored in West Africa.
But Dr. Dodu, is that not too idealistic? Because in this current system where we are so polarized, you are either here or you are there, who is going to say, let's come together and let's now begin to think of the youth and the next generation? What are we going to do? I mean, going forward in the next 50, not when it's bread and butter issue who comes to. I know people who are waiting for parties to change, then they'll go and seize toilets. I mean, when are we going to do this? Who is going to have the temerity to say, I'm going to push this agenda?
Well, I think that it really comes with courage, and anybody who cares about nation and is going to get the opportunity to lead this nation, whether as assemblyman or a unit committee member or member of parliament or president or whatever, should be saying these things. Should have this at the back of his heart to push. You know why? Because there comes a time in the trajectory of every republic that as a generation needs to come out to say enough is enough. We're going to move in a direction that is fit for purpose for all of us. And I feel that this is the era in which we are. If we miss this mark, Jerry, Ghana will go down fast in terms of everything. Because there are nations, I can tell you based on my experience working over 36 countries, actually, even Benin.
They're catching up.
They're catching up and accelerating past us. Look at Benin. Neighboring Benin. Togo, with all the political challenges they have, they are thinking right. Senegal is thinking right. You go to shops in Senegal, made in Senegal goods are everywhere. In this country, there are individuals that are doing entrepreneurial. They are doing Tom Brown. I see Tom Browns. I see the various things that we eat, right? And they are doing it in a small scale, very well packaged. But where do they find themselves? They don't find themselves at the high-end markets or the Malcolms. They find themselves at the Macaulers, and that's fine. But then there's this psyche that in order for me to have Tom Brown, I don't want to get the one in box. I want to get the one that is sold on the Katamanto market. But who are producing these things? These are youth, And there's this feeling that, oh, well, agriculture is not attractive to the youth. I tell you, I have a friend who's a leader of the Chamber of Agribusiness. The youth that are involved in agriculture are quite a lot. So my point is this. We have to disabuse our minds of some of the myths. There are quite a number of myths. Oh, the youth are not interested. They are lazy. They just want to talk. They are, there's all these myths about characterizing our youth, the Gen Zs, I call them, that you and I, our generation, needs to really disabuse our minds. And we need to do one thing, be an intergenerational connector. The conversation you and I are having is very intergenerational. We are not the one to take the country the next 50 years. You and I might not be in this country. We will be dead. But what about the 10-year-old or the 18-year-old who stands a chance to be, in the next 50 years, to be retiring from public service? What kind of discipline can we inculcate, or knowledge can we inculcate, or value can we inculcate in that 18-year-old? The nation is polarized politically, but it is not polarized politically at the level of the 16, 18-year-old.
No, they couldn't be bothered.
They are bothered, they are concerned.
Because they have other things on their
Because
mind.
when they wake up in the morning and they ask you, Dad, I'm going, and you say you don't have the money, they get worried.
Exactly.
They come to you a second time and you don't say, the third time, this is how they behave. I mean, you and I have got children in the 18, in the teens. They will not come back to ask you again because they feel they're putting stress on you.
Yeah, they worry.
They have such sympathy and empathy on us, and they want to see their dad or their mother survive their years, but they have aspirations. Who is talking to them about their aspirations? This is how, in leadership theories, there's something called the formation of the mind. Now, all the youth have seen when they were, anyone who's in 11, a fresh voter, have seen a 7 years of a government that the narrative on the street is made things worse. The city has gone bad, the high risk of corruption, all the negative things. They've never heard about an inspiration of a leader who has got some people to go to the moon, some people to manufacture a car, or the toxicity of our discussions around the country is so bad that all these, think about it very carefully, the 7 years or 8 years of seeing a government, what they hear on the street is very bad. That if any of the young girls, what they're seeing is that politicians come there and they want to take them out in order to give them jobs. If they are 21, 22 years.
But this is not just 7 years. What you're saying is that even before the 7 years.
But I'm talking about a target group.
Okay.
Of those who now are mature, 18, 19.
So that is 7 years ago.
So they were 12 years, they were 11 or 13 years, between 11 to 13 years. Remember when this is at the time you are in high school, you have seen let's say 15 years, between 11 to 15 years bracket. When they were 11, you were between 11 to 15 years when we've seen this government. What you see as a narrative is very toxic, and you feel it. And some of you have seen their parents.
So what would you have said? What would you say that how should government help its citizenry, especially the youth, develop themselves so that we are confident to hand over this country to them?
Good. So I think what I'm trying to say all along is that the narrative we've left for them as a legacy, the protocol, the political connection, we have created an impression to them which is stuck in their minds, that this country, for you to be able to make it, you must be connected politically, you must sell your body, or you have to fight on, They have not seen an alternative of a trajectory that is what they would want to path on, to say, okay, when I excel, I should get a job. When I see my father, his job is thriving, and he's dedicated himself to his work, and he'll be able to meet our needs, to pay our rent, and so on and so forth. I mean, if your father, for example, was a victim of the banking restructuring, and he has not worked for the past 8 years, you will really be very angry at this government. So we have formed a certain level of narrative for those people who were between 11 to 15, and now they are 18 to 22 years. And they form probably 40% of the population.
You think the political class is not talking like they should, especially along these lines of changing what we have left embedded in the minds of our youth?
I think we should get away from the political class. They have an interest that they will not talk. But I believe that...
So where do we start?
We should start from the elders, the churches. You and I are Christians. Now, the last time I checked, this country is about close to 80% Christianity, which means we've grown from, in the last 10 years, we've grown from 65% to probably 80% who profess to be Christians. The church has very big responsibility to apply the word of God to the livelihood of people. To understand that when you talk about the kingdom of God, it's about we who are created in the image of God and contributing to the livelihoods of individuals. It's about making the word of God alive in our governance, in our politics, in our economics, and so on. People say Christians, and I've always had this argument in my travels. Oh, you pray a lot and you are lazy. No, they don't understand. They don't understand Christianity.
But a very loud part of this church we are talking about prophesies doom to these same role models of these youth. You die next week. You die 3 weeks from now.
Leave the prophets.
I saw a
leave the prophets alone. And I don't think that we should discount them. But there are people that when you can tell by their behavior, preaching has become an institution, and I'm sorry to say that it has become an occupation. If I can preach well, it's just like being SRC, going to SRC and so on, create your occupation to become a member of parliament and then politics. And that, I think, we need to be very careful. When we're in tech, there's Always Around. There's a place called Always Around.
Yeah.
Where if you think you have ideas, you go and engage in intellectual debate there. So all those who have been associated with politics, they go there and they challenge your thinking. Really challenge your thinking. So if you come into politics, I don't think at the time our generation are going into politics. Look at them and the way they behave. Most of them actually have been very responsible in the way they do things. But now we are seeing, even understand that the last elections and Cape Coast on SRC, it was so bad.
Yeah.
So bad that people are even willing to kill each other because they see it as a path
into government.
Into government. Which then, what do they see? To a V8, to a house, where an apartment, you don't pay for rent. You can just marry easily, and then you'll be called honorable.
Honorable, yeah.
And I have something to say about the way we refer ourselves in this honorable terminology. In Greek politics, when you do something so extraordinary within your community, you are given opportunity to be called honorable. So the honorable is earned. It's not a title.
It's not automatic.
No. But here these days, we are not seeing that. So I think all these things need to be straightened.
Honorable.
All these things need to be straightened. Yeah, and there are all kinds of titles that people call themselves. Honorable, and Asafache is called Asa, and all these things are. But all these things are power. They belong to the domain of power. Now, one thing that I think we don't understand very carefully in Africa, I believe. I've seen it many times. Power is the domain. Power is a domain, and you must know how it plays. And the citizens need to really accustom themselves to that power, how we manipulate power, because we give too much influence into to people who are in the wrong hands.
10 minutes to the top of the hour 9 when we get into our final hour of the day's program. But this is what I want us to find out. Like, Dr. Ishmael Niamonododu is voted in by my magic wand to be a president. He, first 100 days, tie in national development with the personal development of your citizenry. What are you going to do? Because I'm looking for the practicality of what you're saying.
Right.
What would you do to ensure that churches are talking about this? And what do we do? Because I'm confused.
So if I were there, thank you for blessing me.
Yeah. I mean,
if I were the heart of a president within my first 100 days.
100 days.
The first thing I would do is call for a national dialogue around the kind of government we want.
You think this 92 thing should end somewhere?
No.
We should
and the national dialogue would just be within. I will get involved. Everybody get involved to create an accountability of the kind of government that I would leave the country with.
Okay.
So within the first 10 days, I want to have a social contract of my own government, my own governance strategy in terms of how I'm going to deal with corruption, how I'm going to deal with my policies, and I'll spell out my policies around 1, human capital strategy, 2, food, how we can feed ourselves and stop our importations or minimize it drastically. 3, water, make sure address the issue of water all over the country. And 3rd is decent livelihood and sanitation. These are key policies that I'll put together. Of course, just opposed to that would be to look at how I grow the economy, but I'm not going to get people into that. They must have a place to sleep. They must have good sanitation, so their health systems is very well. A sound body is in a sound mind, and I want to make sure that there's food. We can, and then I want everybody to hold me accountable to the kind of leaders that I want. And I wrapped around that, I would engage the population of the functional roles that I will convert into my cabinet ministry for us to understand why I would have 15 ministers of state and the roles and responsibility. And then linking to that is to describe the kind of talents that I will need for my cabinet ministry and where I'm going to source them from members of parliament and from the public. And I'll structure all of that within my first 50 days as my social capital to the country. So hold me accountable to those things. In other words, I want to run the country with the people. My major economic policy, you know where I would like to talk about it? Katamanto.
Okay.
That's where I will unveil my major economic policy. And I will unveil my Minister of State who will deal with my economic policy there. And we will use that stage to discuss the major contribution of the informal sector to this economy, which we discount. And how I'll get the people into ensuring that my economic policy is so structured on the fundamentals, on the rudiments of this country. This is not oil and gas that is driving our economy. If it was, it should be creating the jobs, but it's not. What creates the jobs and drives our economy, our over 70 billion GDP, is actually the informal sector. If you go to Greater Accra, Ododo, 12 markets, do you know the amount of money that is coming out of there? World Bank is predicting that the GDP contribution of Greater Accra is going to be 30 billion in the next 6 years. Now, it's not the oil and gas. It is those in Makola, in Kwasi Adraso, in Kataman. So they deserve the right to understand my economic policy and see how I work with them. That's my major commitment. My human capital strategy.
That's where my
the human capital strategy. I'll have to find a spot where I can talk to people about skills, talents, and abilities for development. So maybe KGTR market or
For you, it's about being on the ground.
being on the ground. And so if I stand at magazine, for example, and talking to them about what will drive this economy, the infrastructure deficit.
Okay.
How that I want our people to be the one to build our roads, to build our bridges, to do the welding and the plumbing and all of that. The manufacturing sector. How I want the creativity of the magazine people that they are using in Galamsey operations, creating this thing that the Chinese is using to just extract our gold and destroy them, destroy the water bodies. They manufacture them in magazine. I would talk to them about how to professionalize their talents into our automotive industry, into our IT, science and technology, development of patents, and so on. And I'll unveil my human capital strategy there.
Interesting.
My food. I will go to the hub where we grow food. I'll go to Bronga Alpha region, the Bono region, sit down with them, and the Volta region, talk about how I will structure an agribusiness. An agribusiness that would not just feed us, but will enable us to process and to export to other countries. I will do my agricultural sector policy in different areas, and this is how I'll get my ministers of state. Before I bring them in, for the first 100 days, I'm around the country with the chief directors of the various ministries.
Interesting.
Because they know, they are the people that we are paying with our tax. And they would help us to take away these ghost names and those things that we need to. We have to make sure that our wage bill is managed. On day one, everybody in ministry, you are temporarily fired and you reapply. Right? Yeah, all the ministries, public service, you are temporarily fired, temporary use, and you reapply. So that human beings who are alive will reapply. And then, so if you are dead, and you are a ghost,
you won't reapply.
Exactly. This is how you kill with a ghost. It's common sense.
Fire everybody, tell everybody to reapply.
Temporarily reapply. And then we have an automated system, digital system, to bring you back into the system with your ID card, fingerprint, link to Ghana card, and all those things. You deal with the ghost names. It's not Jerry. A lot of these things I'm talking about is common sense. It's things that is in our heart, and we can do it.
0544-321019. 0544-321019. 0303-956641. 0303-956641. On ZFMGH, that is a handle, Instagram, Facebook, and on X at ZFMGH. On YouTube and TikTok, it is Z Multimedia, and then zmultimedia.com is the website. You can send your questions. You can also call. The lines are open. Let's have a conversation with Dr. Ishmael Niamanododu. He's talking a lot of ideas. He's been in the UN. He's been around the world. He's done some amazing stuff for some other countries. We should get brains like his down here. We're talking personal development as it relates to national development. First of all, we've had this conversation about the Ghanaian and we use your life and all that. Is the Ghanaian developed well enough to appreciate democracy in its form? Or should we take them through some education and present another form of democracy or another form of governance, not the word democracy, before them?
This is a very good question, and something that I've also been reflecting on. In fact, I've been reflecting on it when I really look at how democracy has been practiced all across Africa. Democracy emerged from the push from the United States, to sort of socialize socialize most of African countries with preconditions for good governance and corruption, and as a response to the coup d'etat that we were having in 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
So the 1980s, the whole decade of 80 to 90 was the dark decades, they call it, in West Africa, where there are several coup d'etats in many countries. I mean, Ghana had quite a number of them, 3 to 5 of them. Not to talk about the numbers that were fooled within Jerry John Rawlings' time. So democracy came as a way to bring back the powers to the hands of the people so they can construct the kind of country that they want. I dare say that at the time that democracy came to us, we didn't understand it better. The lawyers did understand that they need to write a constitution, they need to frame rule of law, and so on. But then the gap in application of democracy, as I see in Africa, is the development of the leaders or the political leaders that would actualize the democracy, operationalize it. In other words, we needed to, just as you develop a car, and that you have to train people to maintain the car or repair it when there's a challenge. We needed to have, on the basis of developing our political parties and so on, as a nation, there must be something that is deliberately developing our leaders to come and occupy the reins of power to implement the democracy. So that gap, I think, is what has caused Africa and for that matter, Ghana. Nobody goes to school or, as you're growing up, that you are taught about democracy is essence as a curriculum, where Ghana should be going. How do you conduct yourself as a public officer? If this is where you want to go. What does public financial management mean? How do you deal with the issue of corruption? How do you make sure you are not corrupt yourself? And so that all these civic education could have come in. And those who really aspire to be members of parliament, and so it's a choice, right? It's a leadership choice. That there may probably be some school, that you can go to. You apply leadership school, national leadership school that you can apply to, irrespective of which political party you go.
Okay.
And you go there. And then when you graduate from there, we have the political parties actually talking to you and convincing you to join one way or the other.
So that whichever party you join, you still have Ghana at heart.
You have Ghana.
You understand democracy.
Exactly.
You understand what you can do.
And when you are given power, you know how to work with it.
In traveling around Africa, where have you seen success, and how do those countries help develop their human capital?
In fact, one that comes close to an example is the Chama in Punduzi, CCM.
What's that?
CCM political party is in Tanzania. This is the political party that was set up by Julius Nyerere and has actually maintained the reins of power and stood the test of time today. And as opposed to CPP from Kwame Nkrumah, and Julius Nyerere took a lot of the principles from Kwame Nkrumah into it. You see that CCM has some semblance of what I've talked about. They have Yogozin Institute, which is an ideological institute. Really, it's not to give you ideas, but it's more like Confucianism. You go there, the values, the CCM, where they come from, their sociological behavior, how you manage power, your expectation in public offices, all these things are taught in Yogozin Institute, and then they aggressively talk to all the universities because they have the capacity,
of course,
primary school to university and so on. Everybody is eulogized about the ideas of CCM, Julius Nyerere, where Tanzania should be going. And now, this is why you had a president like Magufuli who grew up from that.
Oh, okay.
And then see what he did before he died. He bought 3 to 5 Airbus from the collection of taxes, paid it. Tanzania, he paid it cash. He did so many magnificent things, and they have Galamsey in Tanzania, but he's never destroyed the river bodies.
Why? How?
They took some of the ideas in 1996 or so, where that is Zana mining law came to pass. Then they were testing it with Tanzanite in Tanzania. So they took the law. In fact, they learned a lot from Ghana when I was there, working with the UNDP. And what happened was that the Tanzania law is so strong. They have places where they are earmarked concessions for artisanal mining. And they have the conduct of the business. You sign up to that, and you sign out your taxes, and you sign up to your license. And then you sign up to your license. And then you sign out 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 to your and they are security personnel and so on. You go and you are trained to harvest or extract your tanzanite or your mineral resources in a certain way that is consistent with international best practices. And then when you extract, you declare how much, what volume, they put the money, you pay your taxes before you go and sell. How brilliant is that?
Wow.
How brilliant is that?
So no one is running away, hiding from security.
You cannot. You cannot. I had friends who were artisanal miners, even till today.
In Tanzania?
Of course.
Mining Tanzanite.
Tanzanite.
And they were not destroying the river bodies.
Dare. You dare.
Wow.
Here, there's no law, there's no rule in this country. No. That people who are the architects of some of these challenges find themselves funding political parties and so on. So, and having so much power in leadership that you can. So I think that there's something that we need to interrogate about our democracy and how we apply it. And even as a senior UN official, I had always challenged the notional view of how we apply our democracy in Africa context, because our democracy is not providing the expectations that we had of it. In fact, it is not anything but government of the people, by the people, for the people. It's anything but that. The people are not in the center of our democracy. They are not. Members of parliament, you vote for them. They don't deliver anything, but they are there for 20 years. And one piece that I wrote recently, I said, look, why can't you ask someone who has been there for all these years the key question, why do you think we should vote you back? This is where we were when we first voted to power. The situation had degenerated. What new ideas do you have? How can you be so different? And this conversation, we need to charge every constituency to meet the people, to have that town hall conversation. Town hall conversations, all right? Not political campaigning. And this should be, who should engineer this? Who should engineer this? It's a national development conversation. It should be engineered by the chiefs and the elders of the people. Call all those who are interested and say, hey, listen, come and talk to my people and tell us what is your vision, what's your strategy, what's your agenda. First of all, do you understand the complexities of our poverty situation? What are the 5 key challenges this constituency has, and how are you going to address it? And let it be a national conversation, so that when voting comes in, it's not about any
what
political
party or
it's about the
ideas.
the leader who is able to deliver for you.
What someone is listening to us and is saying, I'm confused, and Dr. Dudu is even making me a lot more confused. What should the average Ghanaian listening to us today begin to do at that micro individual level in his room to begin to change his mind towards national development, so that he becomes part of this new wave? You are saying that beyond these elections, we should take a second look at this.
You should talk to your friends, talk to your parents, talk to everybody with these type of new vision that I'm bringing.
So you want to begin the conversation on the ground?
Yes.
On the streets?
There must be a movement for change.
Oh, that's the name of a political party.
Well, I don't care about that. I am just talking about my own side. It must be a movement for change. And that movement must come from the people. We need to own our development prospect. So if, for example, I know what I would do is I would like to get my leaders, my elders and family elders and so on, to create a platform, bring everybody, CPP, PNC, whatever you are, into a stage, and we'll ask them one key question. Everyone must say, tell us what the 5 key challenges you see as the development challenges in this particular, and how you're going to address them.
And then open it up, let everybody
Yes.
come and talk.
They should tell the people and convince us. So the first question somebody will answer: there are no public toilets in this place. No bathrooms. It's been for decades. Well, if you're a member of parliament, how would you help us solve this problem? There are no jobs here.
But is this practical? Because 10 or 15 of them will be sent in some corner, giving some 50 Ghana cedis each. And they will even come and spoil that to your program. They will come and scream and shout.
But this
and
is why
destroy
I'm saying that it's true. That is a threat to the process, but it's not it's not a threat that cannot be overcome.
Okay.
It's not a threat that cannot be overcome.
How do you overcome the... So, in fact, it's good you've brought
Yes.
GA into this conversation.
Yes.
Let me go into the GA space.
Yes.
Accra is politicized.
Yes.
Your very constituency, what did you do is politicized. I can sit here and say who is who and who is there and who
Right.
is, because it's divided along two very strict lines.
Yeah.
How do you disabuse their minds? One way we could say is the families, but the families are also politicized.
True.
Within the same house, if it's a compound house, half this red, half is green, half is blue, half is green. I mean, how do you do this? Because from what you're saying, it sounds like some utopian ideas.
Right. So let me answer this question by relaying a recent conversation I had with my mom. My mom is an old lady. My late father, Ofedodu, was a constituency secretary for MPP.
Oh, wow.
Right, and he's very good friends with John Ajekum, President Kufuor. In fact, and also with current president, they were very good friends because President Nado also played football at Swalaba,
okay.
with my father. So when he saw me in Oxford, he called me Ofedodu, where I'm not playing football and so on. Yeah. So he jokes in that manner. My mother is a staunch MPP. Through the struggles, right? I mean, they following her husband and so on and so forth. So anytime there's election, if you tell her to vote a different political party to MPP, what he will say to you is this: that if your late father could come out of his grave and convince me, then I'll vote. So that should tell you that this is not a person. My house is so politicized around that. But when I had a conversation with my mom around the development imperatives of Ghana State today, I asked her a question. When you were growing up and now, which future do you see for your children? Do you think that if the clocks are turned back, where I work with her, I have to go to Katamanto or Kosiajaso to sell merchandise before I get money to pay for my school fees and my dress, my shirts, my things that I pencils and pen. Mathematical set was a luxury. Recently, I went to give it to kids in Ingo Pram Pram, and you see the smiles on their faces. But mathematical set, I remember I could not afford the mathematical set. It's a big deal.
Yeah, math set was a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Look at this country. Our math set, $5? Jesus Christ. And now, so when I had a conversation about the deteriorating conditions, the human development deteriorating conditions, sanitation, our health sectors, some of our women could not afford, and some of them, when they go to the health centers, because they don't speak English, there's a classic case of a lady who had a bleeding. It was bleeding, internal bleeding, and he was complaining about the symptoms and was saying in Ga, and the nurse said, I can't understand. By the time they go and bring somebody who can speak the Ga to interpret for the lady passed away. I mean, why should the language be the barrier to look after people? It's all because in the health centers, the Ga are complaining that Osha Clinic, for example, where is a community health center, the nurses that they don't speak the language.
Okay.
So some of these things, these are all development factors, right? Now, so when you look at all these, we had a conversation with her. Her mind was like, look, we really need people who can solve our problems. I don't care which political party they are. And I think a lot of them are getting to the realization of this.
That this politics hasn't helped us.
No.
We're looking for solution providers.
And when you come in and you say, you can do this, they look at your background because we all grew up there. And they say, I know you. I know what you can.
Could that be why that constituencies like that are more like a swing?
Yes.
Because it's not about party colors. It's about you. We know your house.
And I think that the challenge that the political flag bearers are going to face in this election is the ability to convince people that they can solve problems.
That's what we need to get to as a country.
No, I think believe me or not,
We are there already?
I think we are there already. Now, these days, it's not about money you give people. People will not sell their conscience. I sincerely believe that it's going to be about who has the most capacity to solve problems and who can be trusted to solve our problems. We should take that into our members of parliament too. Do you really understand the question we asked them? Do you understand our problems?
What are the top 5 challenges in my constituency?
Articulate our problems for us.
You tell us first.
You tell us first.
Now tell us
and
how
then
you
when
solve
you tell
it.
us, we compare notes.
Whether you know what we are going through or not.
And then tell us what ideas you have to solve them. And this must be a movement. This is not political movement. It's about survival. In my years of toils of travels and work with with international organizations, and now even in my young age, I've decided to come back and say, how can I contribute to nation development? I am interested in we solving our problems.
Talking about this, it's just like 9:15. We've moved into the final hour of the discussion without even noticing it. Please, you can call now 0544321019. Dr. Ishmael Dudu is here. 0303956641. 0544321019. 0303956641. I'm going to ask him a question that has been asked a number of times by various people on different platforms. You left the country, made it out there, you're back and you want to help. Should we all not leave and also come when we've made it?
This is a very good question. I think that we need to, this question would speak to the larger understanding of how we build our nation. It's a fact of life that not all of us in our trajectory of growth would continue to be in this country and move to the echelons of power and influence to help it. There are people who, by destiny, who have been in the system and are doing very well, and they are grooming in the system so that they can help. They can help when they move to their self-actualization stage. There are those who travel and come back, and so on. In my case, even though I've been away, I'm not necessarily away. I spent 2 decades of my life working in Africa, all right, and very much embedded in most of the sophisticated societies that we find ourselves. As a human development person with United Nations Development Program, my job is to reduce poverty. So I've not really worked in the luxuries of Wall Street and things like that.
Okay, I understand.
I've worked in the trenches. My recent work in the Sahel region is the most complicated places you can ever work. The space of nowhere, border between Mali, Niger, Burkina. You have terrorists on one side. You have abject poverty on the other side. You have climate change issue on the other side. And it's all embedded in conflict. And then how do you then work with people who are stressed, who have crisis challenges, and who have humanitarian challenges that you really want to blend and help? So it has shaped my way of thinking. This is why I could be talking this way, because I see solutions and I see the opportunity and I see the way that we can solve the problem. So I've grown myself as an asset to come here to be able to help in whichever form I should be able to help. And by the way, I'm not coming to join political party or something like that. I'm working with the Gandangme community, creating a movement for change called Gandangme Alliance for Change. And all I'm doing is raising the issue of our development. So
okay. The same questions we are asking here.
Yes. That's the platform. So I'm using this platform to raise the consciousness of our people to say, look, we can actually have solutions for our problems if we change our attitude, if we look at where our development prospects are, and if we follow, for example, property taxes, and we decide to have a development agency that can help us and leverage our property taxes, we can create the kind of jobs we want, we can get the schools we want, the clinics we want. In fact, we can have our own health insurance, our own pension scheme.
For guns.
At our own bank, if you look at the property taxes, if we're allowed to collect them, the last time we checked, just for 5,000 to 6,000 luxury houses, 3% of it, which they've not paid for 20 years, will give us $2.9 billion. I just need that to be able to refurbish all the educational centers that we have, to create artisanal centers in every community to train them with the skills and talents. So when we are building, you can call on a plumber who is a Ghanaian person. All these youth who are walking around, they have the skills to be able to do. I want to be able to create my own, we want to be able to create my own people's health insurance scheme so that when they go to Osha Clinic, you will be tempted to, because they have the money to fund the other insurance scheme, you'll be able to give them to access the sophisticated health centers that they need to have. I want to be able to have my people who have suffered for so long, contributed so much for the formation of this republic, to be able to relive their lives again, create scholarships and so on, take our money, also invest, create more wealth for our people. Right? We are not coming to fight land, no. Just give us the property taxes for starters, and give us the opportunity to have a Ghana Development Authority so we can plan our schools, the quality and the access, the same for education, the same for our health centers, and the same for our own people to jobs and so on. And we will be able to bring back our fisheries sector because we have the funds, we will bring technology to turn things around. I mean, and by the way, if you solve that problem, you use the same typology to the bonus, looking at what belongs to them, to the people in the Western region, looking at what belongs to them, all right? Even to our people in Ashanti region,
okay,
what belongs to them.
In the north,
and all of that, and really help them to have development solutions. You will see that you create a competition among all the 14 regions where each other region will have its own socioeconomic agenda. The people will be very, very proud, and nobody has to rush to Accra to stay there. This typology is what will transform our country. And I dare anybody
won't you be
to look
accused of being secessional? You want secessions regions to decide that they want to be independent on their own?
No, I'm rather doing what I called inclusive growth.
Interesting.
That's what sustainable development goals is all about. Don't leave anybody behind. When people are so behind, you must have a deliberate approach to them. You see, if you go to Britain today, they're looking at what they call the leveling up. They look at all the provinces and saying that Oxfordshire will have its own socioeconomic agenda as in South Hampshire and so on and so forth, and Leicestershire and so on. Now, guess what? We have decentralized governance, don't we?
Supposed to.
Well, but that's what we have. Let's use it.
MCs and DCs.
Yeah. So you get the right kind of person who sit there in, say, whichever province in a region, sit down. Okay, let's take, for example, Axim, Beyin area. What can we do from there? Coconut oil development, oil and gas, they pay the royalties to the communities. We can set up a more sophisticated school, maybe international training, a center for oil and gas extraction and so on, so that all the boys that will do the oil rig and so on, this is a place linked to the extraction, right? I mean,
interesting.
Let's think. Listen, it's common sense.
Where are you getting these ideas from?
Well, you would say that through my work, I have seen, and I've spent a lot of the time through my work, because my objective is to help Africa find solutions for how Africa would tangibly get itself out of poverty. That's my major life preoccupation. And I've looked at my country, Ghana, and I truly believe that this is a country that we can grow to 150 billion GDP. And this is a country that can really become the hub of the Wall Street, the hub of technology for West Africa. And this is, and I have this inspiration because I have seen it work. I created 10,000 jobs in the middle of nowhere in the Sahel region with people in Menaka, Tuaregs, and so on and so forth. And people, go and check my record. It is all there.
Wait.
I've done it before.
You create. How did you create jobs out of a desert?
So let's take, for example, in Menaka, where the Tuaregs are. Now, when we arrived there, we were looking at, they are nomads. That means that they are always on the move.
Yeah, pastoral cattle headers.
But then now you have the threat of terrorism. They have become sedentary. So now they have become people that don't move. They need to eat. They need to create places of sleep and so on. So at the time we went there as sedentary people, they don't have enough homes because most of them are away. So you need people who can construct buildings, plumbing, wiring, and so on and so forth. They don't have any of them. In the population of about 500,000 people, there's only 1 or 2 people who can build because they have no need for it.
Yeah, because they were always traveling, moving their cows.
And they don't speak French. And the curriculum to help them to learn building technology and all of this is French. So what do? I took donors' money and I got people who speak their language, Tamashek, and trained them plumbing, wiring, cattle rearing, agriculture, everything in Tamashek. They start building their homes and they put their hands to work. They were very disciplined. We created 10,000 jobs. I did it.
Tamashek.
Yes.
That's the language you speak there.
Yes. So I believe I can train someone to be a very, very proficient plumber in Ghana language or in
Ever language, in Hausa, any of these things.
Of course.
He doesn't need to go to school.
No. Because,
as in go to sit in a classroom.
Yeah, because what is education? In the UK and other developed countries, they're even moving into what they call homeschooling, where people use the curriculum and they're under the direction of their parents because they want to inculcate family values to them as much as their educational value. So why then do you necessarily have to emphasize the Western type of education? We continue to perpetuate imperialistic thinking, and the world is changing. Listen, in order to transform, you must be revolutionary. You must have an out-of-the-box thinking, or I don't want to use out of the box. You must not just be innovative. You must be practically innovative.
Okay.
Practically innovative, where you bring ideas that work. Look at the population we have, more than 40% of them, they are dropped out from schools. Are you saying that you're going to lay them out and you concentrate and those who go to, the posh schools? No. And they have talent, they have wisdom. I've told you, these are people that God created them with abilities. So tap into those abilities. If you train them, then we will have the plumbers, we have the tilers and all that. And once they are doing school, they are married and training. Of course, you have night school for them. Those who want to improve their English can go there. When they see the essence of this training, tell me, which of them will not ask their children to go to school?
Oh, of course.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So this is, and I'm saying all these things because my love for this country and ability and my faith that this country can develop is very high. Something that I'm foolishly optimistic, but I'm telling them that I like to be described that foolish optimism will transform this nation.
So, what are the challenges you're facing so far concerning this idea to turn the Gandangbe mind around? Because probably this discussion should have actually even just seated in that space. What are some of the challenges you're facing?
I mean, the first is people don't, they're finding hard to believe that this is true.
There's no hope.
But then when they look at you, where you have come from, I was just like them.
Your story inspires.
Yes, I'm just like them. I walk through the trenches. If you are struggling to have ends meet, I've been through that. If you don't have mathematical set to write your exams, I've been through that. If you're writing exams and you haven't paid your fees, so they come in and walk you out for 20 minutes, you lose 20 minutes to come and complete your exams. I went through that. And through all this, I had a distinction. I had the first class in university. I went to Oxford. I was the African best student for postgraduate. I went to the UN. I worked as far as the Secretary General's office. So whatever you face, my life tells you that it's not an excuse. And I can only share with you some of the ideas that I have that enabled me to overcome these challenges, and then work with you through the grace of God to believe that the hand of God that helped me can also help you, and we will be able to make.
And they listen to you?
Yes. Wonderful conversation with a team of Gamashi youth.
I would love to sit in one of these meetings.
Please, you're welcome.
Because I've seen them by the roadside. Yeah. I've seen them sitting around the Manchagbo and things, and they're just conversing. I mean, do they look like they don't look to me like they have hope.
Because nobody has approached them. The first time, the second challenge is that they see you as an outsider, well dressed and speak good English and so on. Thank God I can speak my Ghana language well. So you go in and you know that I'm well, but I'm improving, and I have to improve my tree. I understand everything, but I'm not eloquent in it. But the thing is this, that when you go, you have to disabuse your mind and let them have an open mind in terms of open conversation. There are those, as for us, there's nothing that can change our situation, so we are hustlers. So I sat the guy down and said, look, you are, how old are you? 22. Do you think that your energy for hustling will continue when you are 40? And that's when he sat down.
He hasn't thought of that.
And I said to him, look, when poverty started beating you up, that's when you realize that this mentality you have, it cannot thrive. So you better create a future for yourself. And in your hustling, this is what I see as your talent and skills. Why can't you go back to carpentry and professionalize yourself and be able to start having jobs, and improve your livelihood. So really, some of these things is about communication, and I call it the power of communication. You must meet them where they are. Meet them where they are. This is why I really feel that those who are aspiring to be political leaders in these elections, they need to really have good conversation with people and convince them.
What you're doing, and listeners and viewers, it's just past 9, and we're still having a conversation with Dr. Ishmael Dudu, UN, former UN senior diplomat, and also an Africa human development expert, very passionate about his people. What you're doing, are you not going to go, frontal, toe-to-toe with the political class? Because if they are looking for people to cause the rout, demonstration, they're looking for people to get on the street, they have already marketing quotes in your constituency and among your people.
Right.
Why would they help you to change their mind so that they start looking forward to a brighter future? So that when we are looking for somebody to go and snatch a ballot box, where do we go?
Well, I mean, it's a threat, and I'm very well aware of that. But I continue to look at the heart of the people and how I can work with them. And like I said, I have been through that trenches. I just when I was going to university, I was in tech. I could never go to school without my community. Some bringing rice, gari. My parents could not afford. So the community, knowing my heart and my leadership future and one of them said, I'm doing this so that one day when you come out, you become a king for us. So
they invested in you.
They invested in me. So it may be that it's just the way God wants to groom me up, that I have such an empathy on my people, on the ground, because I'm part of them. It's not a succession move. It's a development approach, right? Because when people have been so downtrodden, you have to have a deliberate opportunity attempt to bring them out.
You must pull them out.
You have to pull them out. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just pulling people out. And I'm saying that the lessons here could be moved to Nzima area, to the Bronx, to the northern, and you will see that this is how we develop. The issue is that we can't continue like this.
I've heard this statement 1,000 times.
We cannot, because, why should we have... I met a chemical engineer who was cleaning the toilets in Kotokantum International Airport. He had a first class. Why should you have a chemical engineer graduate from university and be hired at Kotokantum International Airport to clean toilets? Why?
We're not doing something right.
I met a geodetic, not a mining engineer. No, actually, he did mechanical. And I sat on Uber with him. And then the way he was tuned to listening, he was listening to BBC and other things. So I said to him, why are you listening to... Tell me, can I ask a blunt question? Why are you driving? Did you always want to be an Uber driver? I said, no. As a mechanical engineer, he counted 1,000 applications. The only one that called him was a store at Mokola, and said he will pay him 700 Ghana cedis a month. Now, when he looks at driving and what he can make out of it, it's better for him to drive Uber than. And I said, "What did you study?" He said, "I studied mechanical engineering, and I had second class upper."
Wow.
So I told him, and he said, "Look, I love to do things with my hands. You know, I can fabricate this. I can." So as we were driving, I said, "Have you seen the buildings that they are building here? Don't you think they will need welders? They will need." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Are you aware that all these people come from
Outside the country. Benin, Togo.
Benin, yeah. So I said, "Look, let me give you an idea. Look for the carpenters and the welders and people who have trained, professionalize them, represent them, create a company, and a bid for contracts." Immediately stopped the car and said, "Please, nobody has told me this, and I see the light in this. How do I do it?" We went through business plans, strategies, and so on. I hope that he's doing it.
You just give him the advice for free?
Yes, of course. So this is for me, my heart.
Your dad was a fantastic footballer. In fact, the story says that your dad scored the first goal between us and Kotoko.
Right.
The first ever goal between us and Kotoko was scored by your father, Ofedudu.
Right.
And the story goes that match didn't end because a Kotoko player was shown a red card and he said he won't go, and they invaded the pitch and all that. Is this something? Is it in your blood or what? The love to help, because are we patriotic? We want to leave the country.
My father said one thing to me before he passed away. He said, in any community, there's no one person that will kill the elephant and the whole nation will have food to eat. And I truly took that story.
Oh wow, that's a powerful statement.
You know, and then he said, "Look, you kill the elephant one day. I don't know which elephant I'm going to kill at this time." We all know what's happening. But then you see, that analogy that he keeps telling me about that. He always wants us to be problem solvers in community. So in our community, everybody call him Daddy, because from marital problem to whatever, he's always there to help. And he's a very famous person. Anytime you walk with him, people want to stop. And when there's mobile phones start coming, people are taking pictures with him and writing their stories. People, and in fact, I was in Liberia when somebody saw my name, and this is in 2003 when I arrived in Liberia to help. And then he said, there's this famous footballer in Ghana. We love him. He showed me his picture. And when he's finished talking, I said, "That's my late dad." But the Liberian national team really hated him because
he destroyed them.
Oh yes, he massacred them. so that kind of
great Ofedudu.
The great Ofedudu.
In fact, I grew up in Dansuman. We grew up singing songs with his name inside.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ofedudu taking the ball. There was a song like that. With his name in that song.
Yeah. And there was a famous commentary by what is his name? Odie, Super Odie.
Okay.
In which my father calls the
There's a joke like that where Odie, Super Odie.
So really, my father is a problem solver, and I believe that one of the things that he inculcated in us, in particular me, was my best friend. I didn't have too many friends. I would always be with him, and he would tell me stories and ideas. And maybe that grooming is what has brought me this far to this point.
Is it that their generation were a different breed? More patriotic than ours?
More patriotic than ours.
Where did we lose it for us to become... someone just sent me that in the Kotoko match, it was Dogomoru who didn't want to leave the pitch, and that's why the match was abandoned in the 70th minute.
And Dogomoru, I met Dogomoru with my dad.
Oh wow!
Very good friends, and he actually also died very, very bad.
Oh wow!
He died
poor,
very poor. The story was that he couldn't afford a medication that was given.
You see, that brings me to my question. Yeah. They were patriotic, they died poor. Why should we go patriotic when we can, die rich?
Because this time around, we won't die poor. You'll build a nation and you'll have something to, like my father said, We'll kill that elephant.
Somebody will kill an elephant and the whole family
nation
will
will
get
have
food to eat.
Yes, because this nation is going to prosper. Ghana is really going to prosper. It's a prosperous nation. If you look at
You really believe that?
Oh yes, if you look at our geopolitical positioning, if Ghana today is decided to be the hub of manufacturing for West Africa, which we can, all we need to do is make sure that our education and talents and all that are able to do that. This is the kind of dream, the kind of thinking that we need to be having. You know, we need to be having a nation-building idea. And I see policies coming from the major political parties. When I listen to some of them, and I'm just giving an example, just not a favoritism or anything, but if you look at 24-hour economy, it's an approach which I truly believe will be a sociological change to the way we think. You know, the so-called Ghana Mean Time, or you call for a program, somebody comes.
It comes late.
Now the
Ghana
idea,
Man's Time.
Yeah. Now the idea is this: that your money, your value is your currency is actually your time. So it will force people to be strong on time when they are going for program, because after 1 hour I have to go work, and the more I work, the more money I make. You know, so I think,
okay.
You know, so I think that because you can sell your time for whatever you want, and that's the whole idea of the 24-hour economy idea. Which
That if I'm in a meeting,
Yeah.
and I have I'm the one on the evening shift,
yes,
I wouldn't stay.
of course.
If it's a church service, I'll leave.
Or even if you're a pastor, you know, you come and teach, and then in 30 minutes you go back to work. We need to have that mindset, because that time is our currency. You know, and then we have to create more avenues for work. So it will force people to create more avenues for work. And I think it's a policy that we should be apolitical about it, to really embrace it in a way.
Because it will change the mindset.
It will change our mindset, it will change our attitude, it will change how we sharpen our skills. Because within that, in my vision, within that, you can see emergence of new areas that will call for new talent, and people can go and learn new skills to be able to do that.
We cannot talk about personal development vis-a-vis national development without talking about the role the National Development Planning Commission
Right.
should play in this new Ghanaian and this new post 1992 constitution that you have in mind. What should the National Development Planning Commission, who says that their core mandate is to continue to guide the country's development, what role should they play?
Before I say that, you know, my very good friend and senior brother, Kojo Mensah Brapa, was a former, he just passed away, the current CEO of the Chief General Secretary, I think, of the General Commissioner of the NDPC, just passed away last week, and I send my condolences to the family. Indeed, the National Development Planning Commission seriously would play a very important role in this. And we need to, depoliticize that commission. We need people that can sit down, think, analyze, use data to guide our policy and to engineer our development. NDPC should have the finest brains and to chart the path of our development. We shouldn't get into these political leadership where a minister of state who's just, given opportunity to be a minister of certain, maybe education or whatever, you come and you are not a technocrat, you don't understand it, and you just come with your own, way of throwing away everything and then want to bring your own new ideas. The NDPC should create a certain development pathway. In fact, even locked it in the constitution and becomes the basis for our elections in terms of who has the right brain, who has the right approach or the most strategic or smart approach, and provide a pathway for that development that we are looking for. So NDPC needs to be properly empowered to do that. And every, if we have, say, for example, Ghana Development Community Agency or something, should have a very important collaboration with this. And in fact, if the NDPC, in my vision, if the NDPC should be set out, then this issue about leveling up approach, where every region you have a socioeconomic development agenda, it should be linked to the overall NDPC national agenda, and we should have planners, drawing practitioners who report to NDPC, who are sitting down with the decentralized governments, authorities, to be able to engineer this. So if every region is growing, then the whole nation is growing.
Definitely.
The whole jobs is growing. The whole, this is how you build a nation. Ghana is not just Greater Accra. Ghana is Eastern region, Northern region, West. So then, how do you integrate all their socioeconomic prospects into a national development planning?
Interesting. It's 9:45, meaning that we have just 10 minutes to go. First of all, I would want to profusely apologize to listeners that we couldn't bring you the 5 of Marriage Matters, the discussion today. We'll continue Marriage Matters tomorrow, hopefully. But this discussion has also become so interesting that it has gone beyond. So let's say we have 9 minutes to go.
Right.
Let's now start getting into the nitty-gritties of the life of the guy listening to us today, or the lady listening to us today. What would you advise a listener, a young person, someone who has just finished school? What should a person begin to do so that that person becomes part of the bigger conversation?
I think that, unfortunately, when you graduate school, you don't have the needed support that can help you to make the transition.
So he's finished national service.
Yeah. So you normally would have a needed support to help you transition the local market. Now, what I would advise you to do if you're a young person who's graduated and you're looking for jobs and so on, number one is use social media opportunities to try and develop your entrepreneurial skills. How to write a business plan, how to develop, some kind of entrepreneurial skills around anything that you can set up your business to do. Think through your community and see what support that they need and what services you can sell for. Even at Mokala Market, if you decide, a young person, you have done business finance or administration, you don't have a job, and you go talking to Mokala women and say, listen, I will be able to help you to open an account, manage your business. I will write the business services you need for you to open an account, save an account, so I can prove your credit rating, so we can get good, you can be able to acquire loans to expand your business. I will help you to, manage your business as they expand, and I'll do this for a service of, say, 100 Ghana cedi, a month, all right? To do the kind of things that you want somebody to help you to, if you're a store, and you have about 10 clients, what you are doing is you are making 1,000 Ghana cedis a month for yourself. Numerical skills, and help them to just simply go and put their money in their bank account rather than keeping it at home and people stealing from them and things like that. If that's all the services you want to provide, the bookkeeping services, I call it, that will create jobs for you. Now, if for example, you are a very good student, you do engineering, which means you are a good mathematician. Look, all the kids needs to learn mathematics and their weaknesses. If you have 100 people that you are teaching them in 9 school, and you are charging them 100 Ghana a month, right? 100 people you are teaching them mathematics, you're charging 100 Ghana a month, you make 10,000 Ghana cedis. So what I'm saying is that they should all think about societal challenges and how you convert that into solutions using your education to create those jobs for yourselves. And I'm hoping that as things change and the economy becomes sophisticated, you'll be able to find your foot and move into things that we're doing. And if anybody is listening to me, there's a dire need to bring, artisan associations or get people together, plumber, electrical, wiring, whatever, who don't have that sophisticated skills to bid for projects, professionalize them, work with them, and bid for projects and manage them and make the money.
Free consultancy from Dr. Ishmael Niamanododu. He said, hey, people, If there are some artisans in your area, form an association, come together or form a community of artisans, bid for jobs, share the spoils. He says use social media to, or in fact, the World Wide Web to look for opportunities to, upgrade yourself, your entrepreneurial skills, that is, and then look through your community. What are the needs that people will pay for? Don't sit at home. Don't throw your hands in the air. Better days are coming. That is what he's saying. Better days are coming. Yeah. He has hope for this country, a lot of it as well. Any final words before we take leave of you, sir?
Yeah, my final word is that let's all of us have hope for this nation. Let's all of us wear our patriotic hat, and let's believe in the Ghana that we have today, and let's engage leadership and political discussions and force them to tell us the problems that they're going to solve, and that should form the basis of our decisions to vote for them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishmael Ni Amanadodu, UN, former UN senior diplomat, African human development expert. It's been an amazing discussion with you, and the ideas have so many. I've written so many things down. I'm sure outside of this, we'll continue this very interesting conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Listeners, we'll be back. It's still Z in the morning. It's been a 2-hour ride with Dr. Ishmael Dodu, and it's been a good conversation. We'll be coming back to wrap up for the day.
Z 101.9 FM.
It's your lifestyle, nurture, and business radio.